have arrived at the airport. It looks like it's utterly, totally brand new. And now the game starts. Now we've got to go and find the rental car company, see if we can find them. We're having difficulty this morning finding out where they actually are. Here somewhere in the airport, so we're just going to go on another scouting hunt. We're getting good at this after three odd years. Cool, so we've got the car. We use Enterprise Cars. They're a UK-based company. Yeah, this one has cost us €90 for the day. It's 10 AM, we don't drop it back until 9 o'clock tonight, so we've got it for 12 hours. So that just shows you actually. And anyway, so Enterprise Cars have upgraded us, which is very nice, and we are on the motorway to go and see the first UNESCO World Heritage Site for today. We're not too sure what the speed is because there's no signs anywhere to say what the speed is, but it's a motorway, so we assume it's 100.
In 3 kilometers at the Wroclaw Poludny Junction, use the right lane to follow signs for E40 towards Świdnica, Lubaka.
So we've just done our first turn, and the other thing that we are noticing is I've put the navigation on no tolls. But to drive on motorways, is that the motorways here are not as full as what they are in Western Europe. So by that I mean there are just simply less cars on the road, and that's most probably a reflection of that the GDP per capita here in Poland is so low. It's only 13,500 US a year, whereas if you compare New Zealand, it's 43,000 US per year, and if you go to Australia, it's 53,000 US per year capita. So yeah, people don't have as much money here as what they do in Western Europe.
It's quite developed.
Yeah, it is quite developed. Like over there is a well-known cargo brand. You do see a lot of brands out here that we recognise from the West, but also I can see that there's still quite a lot of poverty around, that the country is not as developed as, of course, what the West is, because, of course, it's been under communist era for, God, how many years was it after the war? Hang on, let me think. 40 years. Yeah, so these motorways here are fairly new, and we noticed yesterday too that the motorways coming in from Czech, we had to go through all these little towns, and they are developing the motorways. There's a lot of construction actually happening. So yeah, and I love these signs whereby it gives you all the names and all. So we've turned off the motorway. We're now driving through the countryside to get to our first UNESCO World Heritage Church for the morning. The one other thing that we notice is that there is a lot more room here. So if you look over here, you'll see there's only a village there in the distance. But there is a lot more open spaces here than what you get in the Netherlands. Some local houses. These ones are actually in quite good nick. Coming into another little town. Oh, they've got a new bridge here. So most of the roads are, well, it's not quite single track, but it's not a double road either. No centre lines in anything. Wow. It's been quite an eye-opener actually for us, coming to the east, former East Bloc. Now here's a sign, European Union. Obviously, yeah, they're giving some money for something. And this is after 30 years of the falling of the wall. Wow. And it still looks very poor. Here we are coming into the Holy Spirit Church of Peace in southwest Poland. Quite pretty, but everything is pretty when you travel. Oh wow, look at it. It was built in 1645, and what we're actually walking over used to be the cemetery, but they turned it into a park in 1972. It was built out of wood, straw and clay. Wow. I'm surprised it survived the communist time, because Stalin did not like churches. We're at the side of the church, so here you can really see the tower. So apparently this was one of 3 churches constructed at its time in 1645. It's one of 3 that are made out of this timber construction here in this part of Poland. But at the time, we have to remember that this was part of Persia, I think it was, at that time, when it would have been built. The other interesting thing is that when this was, because this used to be then part of Germany, but according to the Potsdam Agreement in 1945, it then became part of Poland again. Normally churches in this area would become Catholic, but this and the other one we're going to later on today, they have remained Lutheran. So I've just come around the corner and look at this. Now this is where you really can see its construction. All made out of wood. So we're here actually not very far from the border. The border is pretty much there where you can see the hills in the distance. And that's because, as I've said before, this part of Poland...
In 100 meters, turn left towards Droga Jawocka 374.
This part of
Continue for 13 kilometers.
Okay. So Google's finished. Oh look, there's some old farm buildings. They seem to be all together, these farm buildings, quite a lot of them, like a commune together, which is obviously what communism was partly about. So as I was saying before, this part of Poland used to belong to Germany, and Stalin and Hitler made an agreement, a secret agreement apparently, in 1938, a neutrality pact, which meant that they would never fight against each other and they would never invade each other. But of course, with Operation Barossa, which is the fighting that went on in Leningrad, now today St. Petersburg, Hitler, of course, when he invaded Russia, you know, didn't honour that agreement, because he wanted Russia for Lebensraum. Like if you look here, as I said before this morning, there's so much space here in Poland. It's unbelievable how big some of the areas are. You just really get a sense of that there's just a lot more room out here. So then you had the end of World War II, and then of course Stalin was part of the Potsdam Agreement, which was held just outside of Berlin, I think, 1946. And of course he then said, well, no, hang on, this is what Hitler and I had agreed back in 1938, I want that agreement honoured. So the West had to do that, and they had to honour that agreement, because otherwise Stalin wouldn't, whoa, God, these roads are bad. Otherwise he would not come to the party. So a lot of land out here was simply returned to Poland, and then further out east, what used to be Poland has now become the Ukraine. So the German people that were here, they were forced to flee or they were deported. Some people are only given 20 minutes to get out of their houses. They had to leave their houses behind. They would pack suitcase and basically get out by the authorities. And so the people that were living in what is now the Ukraine, they came and settled here. So the Jewish people that you've got living here, they are the East Polish Jews. And Hitler never got his hand on those. So hence the reason why there's actually now more Jewish people living here, even though Hitler wiped out pretty much the whole population here. I think that in the town that we were yesterday, how many thousand people, Jewish people lived there, did he say?
Depends on which time of the year, which year it was.
Before the war? What did he say again in his guide? Oh, it's thousands. He wiped out thousands of people out of that, Jewish people out of that town. Yeah. Wow. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. The balconies, so they've got individual rooms inside them, particularly up there on the level 2. And there's a private balcony, and there's another 4. And that's the top balcony. Wow. How many years did it take to construct? It was also just 1 year, wasn't it? It's unbelievable the workmanship that's gone into it. Wow. That's just incredible. And this is the church on the outside.